Today we're going for something a little bit different. Take a look at this. This is the Oilsky M308, which is essentially a thing you would call a DAP, a digital audio player. You might recognize the idea of portable MP3 players. Well, DAPs are pretty much exactly that, but with a few twists depending on the model you choose. The idea of having a little device separate from your phone just to listen to music isn't anything new, but for some reason it's certainly rising in popularity lately. So you might ask, if you're doing a video about a DAP, why choose this one? After all, this one is a little bit weird. I found some mixed opinions about it online. It uses Android 9, so not exactly the freshest OS out there, and overall it has a lot of different competitors. Well, the answer to that is, I was curious. So if you're just as curious as me, or perhaps you've been planning to get this one for yourself, just stick around and we'll see what we're dealing with here. So let's get to it. Let's open it up. That's great. The first thing we've got here is the user manual. It's a rather thick one. Yeah, it's available in English. That's good. What's perhaps the most interesting for some of you, the specs. So take a look at that. And that's pretty much it when it comes to the manual. The device comes with a little case like this, and with the charging cable, of course. A simple USB-C charging cable. The case is pretty rigid. And it's got that neat leather texture here. It looks pretty solid. What's very nice is that we also have a screen protector here. I can already tell that this is a simple plastic screen protector. So we're gonna go ahead and apply that right away. And here is the device itself. My very first impression here is that it is much heavier than I anticipated. And that's everything when it comes to the box. So let's just do a little cleanup here and apply the screen protector while the device is still clean. Of course, let's not forget about the satisfying bit. Ah, yes. Let's peel the factory protector off. Well, there seems to be a screen protector already applied here. It's done very poorly. On this edge here, you can see that. I don't know if you can. So I think I'll just go ahead and take this off. Yep. So that's what we've got. Not perfect, especially around the edges, but at least it's oriented correctly now, so it won't bother me as much. So alright, now with the screen protector applied, let's just take a closer look at the device. In the front we've got the standard 3 Android buttons, which is the home button, back button and the menu button. Here on top we have arguably the most interesting part of the device, which is the volume wheel. We can take a closer look at that. I don't know if you can hear this, but it moves in small steps like this. Sadly, it doesn't press in like a button. That would be a nice feature to have. On the right side, we've got 2 buttons here, which you would think would be the volume buttons, but no, the volume wheel is here. So these are the next song and the previous song button. And this one, which you would think probably to be a play-pause button, but there is no play-pause button on this device, which is quite curious. This is the power button. And lastly, this small thing here is the reset hole. When it comes to the bottom, we've got the audio jack here, the USB-C port here used for charging, and the microSD card slot. And there is nothing on the left side. On the back, there appears to be another protector applied here, so I'll just leave it for now. Aside from the device info here, we've also got the button labels here and the port labels here. That's pretty much it. This part on top is rather nice looking. I really like that. So enough of that, let's turn this on and see how long it takes to boot for the first time. And I think it's dead. We're off to a great start. So alright, let's just plug it in for a while and see if it will turn on then. So now it's showing that the battery is empty, but now suddenly it shows that it's 93%. So I hope that the battery isn't damaged. I leave it like this for a while to charge, and we will see what happens. So the situation was rather interesting because I tried, as you saw before, I tried to turn it on, I couldn't. Then I plugged it in to charge. It showed that it's charging, but the battery is empty in the red. So I left it there for just 2 seconds and then it showed 93% battery charged. I'm not expecting miracles here, because, well, this is an Android device. And it's also Android 9, so that was within reason, I'd say. I'll try my best to just minimize the reflections. So we've got the basic lock screen, of course, and then we have the launcher, which here is pretty straightforward. We've got just a few basic apps and the music players and Spotify already installed, so that's great. Of course, you've got all the usual Android settings here, including the battery saver, which might come in handy. We've got the invert colors option, of course. We've got the night light option. Pretty much everything that comes with Android 9 you'll find here. When it comes to memory, this one has only 2 GB of RAM. Over half of it is currently used by the system itself, so it's pretty important to keep that in mind if you plan to install any more memory-heavy applications here. When it comes to the pre-installed apps, we don't have much here, which is good. We don't want any bloatware here. There is the Amazon Kindle app, which I think, yeah, you can uninstall it. I'll do just that. I don't really need to read ebooks on this. By the way, if you're interested in an extremely pocketable ebook reader, then you can check out my first impressions on the XT-Ink X4. Coming back to the Oilsky, we've got the music player apps already here, we've got the Google Board, of course Google Play services, so you can install additional apps on here. Keep in mind that you can only install apps that are compatible with Android 9 here. We've got the MX Player Pro, and of course pre-installed Spotify and Tidal. That's pretty much it, so I would say no bloatware at all. The Oilsky has a reasonably small battery, so you don't want to be using it, to stay online for extended periods of time or to use the screen to watch music videos or anything, because it's not going to be great when it comes to battery life. Then we've got the audio settings, which are important here. So here we have the audio gain setting, which I'm not entirely sure what it does. But on the other hand, I know what this setting here does. Here we can switch between the low gain mode and the high gain mode. According to the user manual here, the low gain mode is meant to help you save some battery, while the high gain mode is meant to be used with high impedance headphones. The next settings we have here is the ability to choose the Bluetooth audio codec. We have the LDAC, SBC and AAC to choose from. And then we have the LDAC quality setting with options like this available. For some reason, I'm not able to quite switch between those, so I'm not entirely sure what's up with that, but alright, let's just leave it for now. So here we have storage, so this is supposed to have 16 GB of storage built in. We have 35% of the storage used by the system, and I guess you can use the remaining 10 GB to install apps and whatnot. Then we've got the security settings. Of course, the last security update is going to be from 2021, as this is Android 9 and it's no longer supported. Just a small note here, never use your main Google account with these kind of devices. Also, try not to log into any critical services like your bank accounts and whatnot using these. It may be common sense, but it's important to mention here. Then we've got an interesting setting here, the auto shutdown setting. By default, this is set to 60 minutes, so if you leave this on for more than 60 minutes, then it will turn off. You can set this to 5 minutes, you can set this to 30 minutes, whatever you'd like. It's pretty useful if you're, for example, listening to music while falling asleep and you don't want this to drain battery overnight. Of course, many apps do support this by themselves, but having this on a system level, so that the whole device turns off, is very good to have. Next up is schedule power on-off. So here you can schedule an automatic shutdown for a specific hour. This is also very convenient on a device with a rather small battery. And that's pretty much it. We can, of course, and we will enable the developer settings here. Oops. Yeah, tapping on the build number a few times reveals the factory test instead of activating the developer mode. We've got the burn-in test. Just plays a small video for us. That's interesting. We've got the build number here and everything. Other than that, the screen tests. We can check for any dead pixels. We can check the charger current here. Alright, this is the speaker test. Of course, this device doesn't have a speaker, so we're not gonna hear anything. We've got the sensors, and this one does have an accelerometer, as you can see, so it can do automatic screen orientation. And that's pretty much it. There seems to be no Easter egg here. That may be because this is a stripped-down version of Android 9, so it might have been removed. And then, of course, we've got the System Updates menu. So here we can update the Oilsky firmware should the new version come out. Wait a second. Cancel. Alright. Now one thing about the display. Let me just say it's not the best quality it could be. The backlight is, I wouldn't say it's uneven, but you can definitely see, like on the most cheaper LED screens, that it's not as uniform as it could be, especially here on the bottom. It's nothing major, especially considering that this is first and foremost a music player. but it's still important to mention. The max brightness seems to be alright, but I don't really know how good it would be if I decided to use it in, let's say, bright sunlight. We've got the File Manager app here, so we can browse through our files. In general, this works pretty well. The simple system apps are very responsive. There is no lag here or anything. I wouldn't expect lag in such simple apps, but it's also important to mention. And we've got the Bluetooth settings here. Oh, it's just a shortcut to the main Bluetooth settings. Alright then. When it comes to the pre-installed apps, of course, there is a Google board here. We've got the clock, the very, very basic Android 9 clock, and the timer, stopwatch, all that jazz. We've got the calendar, if you'd like that. There is also the stock calendar, the calculator, just nice to have it on hand. Then we've got the gallery. If you do any screenshots, they will show up here. And there is the MX Player Pro installed, although I wouldn't really advise to watch any longer videos on this, mainly because of the battery, but also due to the small size of the display. When it comes to the pre-installed music players, we've got the Theo music player. Just let it start up. Yep. So this is the Theo app. Then we've got this one. This is also a reasonably popular option. And lastly, we've got the streaming service apps pre-installed, which are Spotify and Tidal. Of course, as this is an Android device, you can install anything you want here, as long as it's compatible with Android 9. Let me just quickly connect to my home Wi-Fi. So, in short, I was able to log into Google Play here, but honestly it took very long. The Google Play app itself crashed on me 2 times, but yeah, the device struggled all throughout the whole process, so it's also important to mention here that you're not meant to be doing really anything else than listening to music on this. It's just not made for that. Regardless of that, I actually think it's crashed again. Typing on this keyboard is surprisingly easy. It's very sluggish. And there we go. Yeah, on a screen like this is not going to be easy. If you would be up to playing some simple titles like this on here and you don't mind the battery, then you could absolutely do that. Despite it not being like the most clever thing to do, it's available here. So let me just show you what the screen looks like from up close. The quality of the display isn't that bad, it's very small. So playing games like this on it, while it's certainly cool that you're able to do that, it's not very practical. So yeah, moving on. Also, an interesting thing is that there doesn't seem to really be a web browser installed here by default. I took some additional time to install Firefox on here. And well, while you can browse the internet on this thing, it's certainly not going to be the fastest experience ever. But yeah, if you wanted to, then once again it is perfectly doable. If you're a masochist, that is. And as I've already said a few times, it is an Android player, so we can install other apps on here. I've installed, for example, Power Amp and Symphonium. They seem to be responsive, they seem to work well. In a second we will load up a few audio files here. As I don't have a Tidal account, let me just try and log in to Spotify. It takes a while to open. But once we get to it, it seems to be working alright. My Wi-Fi connection isn't really the best here in the studio, but the app itself seems to be pretty responsive, as you can see here. Or as responsive as it can be, considering what's inside this. Now let me just connect my IEMs I have laying around here. Just like that. Quite obviously I cannot really convey in words the audio quality here, and it's music streaming after all. But the app is responsive, changing the songs feels very fluid, as well as moving through the songs like this. So if you're planning to get this one and use Spotify, I guess this isn't such a bad idea. I, however, cannot really vouch for the battery in this thing, so that's a thing to consider. Now for another test, let me just quickly turn off Wi-Fi, so as to save some battery, and then grab one of my micro SDs, with a few test songs on it. Just like that, it locks in place. And let's just quickly go first through the default players to see how fast they load files and whatnot, and then quickly go to the newly installed ones. So first the Theo music player. Let's move on to this one. Yep. 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 Alright, this one also seemed to be responsive enough. Now let's go to power amp. Alright, power amp seems to unfortunately be giving me some errors when I'm trying to give it access to my microSD card, so let's just skip that for now. And lastly, let's move to Symfonium. Now let's let it scan for a while. And it's done. And now we can navigate just like this. It also seems to work well and be responsive enough not to make it annoying to use. So that's also very nice. When it comes to the buttons on the right side as well as to the knob, I have a few things I'd like to say. This one works well for me, aside from the fact that I find it a little bit unintuitive for that left to right movement to be volume down and right to left to be volume up. I personally think that it should be reversed, or at least that there should be an option to reverse it. Of course, you can always just grab the volume slider around, like this, but it's obviously less optimal. Another thing I'd like to see here is to be able to regulate how fast this affects the volume slider. It would be also very nice to have that in settings, because for now, as you can see, if I try to go up from 0 to 100, it can take quite a lot of time to do that. So, you know, these buttons here, as we've already mentioned, are the next track and the previous track button. Sadly, there is no play pause button here, so you'd have to either rely on a play pause button on your headphones if they have it, like this, or perhaps there is a possibility to use an app like Keymapper to be able to map, for example, a double click like this to the play pause functionality. Just something to think about. And I think that's pretty much it. Sorry for not talking much about the audio quality, but for me and with the IEMs I use, I think it's really good. When it comes to the Bluetooth audio quality, there is not much latency, at least on the track controls, and the audio quality here is also, in my eyes, or rather ears, very good. That's pretty much all I can say about it without being an audio professional. Now the last thing I want to do is to just quickly try this out. The device slides in like this. It sits really tight in here, so it cannot fall out by accident. I really like the feel of this, although this device is already a little bit heavy and chunky, so this just adds up to it. It's not bad and it looks rather nice, especially with the texture, and for me it kind of also blocks the one-finger access to the wheel. Although you can still do it, you just need to push it in a little bit here. Still, it's nice that this is included in the set. Would I recommend that you get the Oilsky M308? Not really, but I know that there are many other better options out there, even if just a little more expensive. The battery concerns and the problems we had earlier are also something to think about. This isn't the most powerful DAP out there, and it's certainly not the best one, but I think that considering its neat form factor and the relatively low price, it can still be an interesting pick when it comes to budget Android DAPs. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you'd like to see more content like this, with various different tech gizmos and gadgets, consider leaving a like or subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Bye!